Which day three rookies have the best chance of producing year one? We're talking about that in today's video. As always, guys, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 1,300 subscribers. Today, we're talking about day three rookies. What is a day three rookie? A day three rookie is any rookie that was drafted in the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th round of the NFL draft, on day three of the NFL draft. And why are we talking about these players? It's because we're going to add every dynasty team. We're going to add through the draft, round 3s, round 4 of the NFL of the your dynasty rookie draft, or through waivers. We're going to add a bunch of guys to our team, and most of these guys are not going to produce. And could this time next year when the next rookie draft comes, we're probably going to cut a lot of these guys. So I'm looking at players who have a potential chance at producing year one without injury. Right? Injury can obviously change everything. We're looking at players that without injury have a decent chance at maybe producing. And it's so important because it's going to give us a reason to hold on to these guys. I don't care what these guys do in year 3, because if they don't produce in year 1 or year 2, I'm probably not going to be holding. They're going to be on the waiver wire anyways. Jalen Milroe is up first at the quarterback position. Now, he technically wasn't day 3, but it's kind of hard with a couple of these quarterbacks weren't day 3, but it's a little bit harder with the quarterbacks. We're already getting the news. We're already getting headlines of Jalen Milroe being a threat to Sam Darnold. And I think people would be pretty surprised if Sam Darnold did not start most of the year for the Seahawks. That being said, I don't think it's a guarantee. Is Sam Darnold going to get the first shot? Absolutely. But could he still fall flat on his face? He absolutely could fall flat on his face. This is Sam Darnold we're talking about. Also, I heard with their contract that they don't have a lot of money dedicated to Sam Darnold beyond 2025. Like, there's something with the contract that if they move on from him after 2025, that they actually save a lot of money in terms of guaranteed money and things like that. So technically their out is not until 2027, but it could be a move that they make as soon as 2025 is over. So I think it's interesting with Jalen Milroe. Like, he has a skill set that obviously Sam Darnold doesn't have. If you guys remember, this happened with the Seahawks, we're talking 13 years ago now, back in 2012, when they paid Matt Flynn a bunch of money. They drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. Russell Wilson won that job. I'd be very, very surprised if Sam Darnold did not win the job, because he was a little bit more proven than a guy like Matt Flynn, who basically got paid because of one game that at the end of the year. But that being said, just watch out for Jalen Milroe. I wouldn't be shocked, even without a Sam Darnold injury, that we see some games from Jalen Milroe, if Sam Darnold is just not playing at the level that he did last year. Dillon Gabriel is the other round 3, non-day 2, day 3 rookie. And it's pretty simple. I'm going to say the exact same thing for Shedeur Sanders, who's next on this list. They have Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson. I don't think is playing this year. The Browns could be in a situation where it's just like, look, it's November. We're not winning games. Why are we rolling out Joe Flacco? Why are we rolling out Kenny Pickett? Let's see what we got in Dillon Gabriel and or Shedeur Sanders. So even without an injury, if the Browns aren't playing well, if they're not winning games, I can easily see them going to one of these rookies just to see what they got in them. And so both these guys, I don't know who, and I think it's going to be one or the other. I don't think it's going to be both. Both these guys, though, have an opportunity to produce year 1 without an injury, in my opinion. And there's value in that. There is absolute value. There's probably more artificial dynasty value with Shedeur Sanders, but there's value in these players, and why you should be adding them late in rookie drafts or on the waiver wire, of course, in dynasty superflex leagues. Will Howard is the last quarterback here, and it's pretty simple. I mean, we assume Aaron Rodgers is going to be on this team, but he's not on this team. It's May 11th, and Aaron Rodgers is not on the team. The closer we get to the NFL season, I think we're 117, 18 days away from the NFL season, essentially 4 months away. Every single day that we get closer, the less likely it is, in my opinion, that Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers. And so then you're looking at a situation where you have Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, and Will Howard. Over under 3.5 games. If they go into the season with those 3 quarterbacks, over under 3.5, 4.5 games for Will Howard, I'd probably take the over. I would take the over. And some people really liked Will Howard. Some people who I respect in terms of their scouting, they said, Will Howard has a chance. He's probably going to be a backup, but he has a chance to maybe do something a little bit more than some of these other quarterbacks that were taken. Into the running backs, and we have a really, really, really long list here. Woody Marks is up first here. Woody Marks out of USC goes to the Texans. Texans traded up to get him. They traded like a part of the trade was a 2026 third. That's like legit draft capital. Now, obviously, they got other pieces back and stuff, so it wasn't just the third for basically to trade up to get Woody Marks, but it was a part of the trade, and they gave up one of their 26 thirds. Woody Marks, if you don't know, extremely good pass catcher in college. Caught a lot of passes. I'm pulling up the exact number right now of how many passes he actually caught. He caught 47 passes at USC last year. He had 261 catches in his career. That's a lot. 5-year career, but he had 60, 83, 48, 23, and 47 catches. Good for 261 catches. I kind of think that like the fact that they traded up for him as well, like they kind of want to mix someone else in there to kind of, supplement Joe Mixon. I really think this team struggled a bit. They started off the year with Joe Mixon playing, the first game. They scored almost 30 points. And then Joe Mixon gets hurt, right? Joe Mixon gets hurt pretty early, halfway through week 2. And basically, the Texans did not score more than 24 points while Joe Mixon missed time, right? While Joe Mixon did not, they didn't score 24 or more than 24 points in any game where Joe Mixon played 50% or less of the snaps. They did not score. I think only one of those games. And so, I think they want to, and they recognize that, hey, we need to kind of conserve Mixon a little bit, maybe play him 60-65% of the snaps. He's a little bit older. I just don't think they really had anyone that they really trusted. They had Daria Gumbawale and Dameon Pierce. And so, if you give Woody Marks 8, 9, 10 touches a game with, hopefully 2 or 3 of those as catches, you could be looking at a guy who's going to give you 150 touches and, he's giving you 40, 45 catches this year. So just keep an eye out for Woody Marks. Even without a Joe Mixon injury, I think he could be productive. Jarquez Hunter is another one. Now, this one's I'm a little bit less confident in. I really do think that the Texans are going to work in Woody Marks personally. But Jarquez Hunter probably needs a Kyren injury, considering how they use Kyren Williams. It's insane how the Rams use Kyren Williams. They use him. Just go look at his snap share over the last 2 years. 2023, Kyren Williams played 82% of his team's snaps in 2023. That's a lot for a running back. Last year, 86.7. Now, are they doing that because that's just how McVay wants to run his offense? Or are they doing that because they didn't really have another running back that they trusted so much? I think Jarquez Hunter could beat out Blake Corum for the RB2 spot. And I really do think that Jarquez Hunter could have a role if he's good. I just don't imagine that the Rams are one of those teams where if someone's good, if there's a good running back there, that they're just going to keep him off the field. I just don't know if they really had that type of player in Blake Corum last year. What if they have it in Jarquez Hunter this year? He's 5'10", he's 209. I think he can catch the ball pretty well. I kind of compare him a little bit to kind of like Ray Davis last year, was just a really productive running back that he's going to produce. He's a little bit older, sure, all this stuff. Yeah, that's why maybe he fell to the 4th round. But when he's on the field, like Ray Davis, he's going to produce. So just keep an eye out for Jarquez Hunter. And maybe they finally, lighten the load on Kyren just a little bit. Dylan Sampson is another one. I'm a big Dylan Sampson guy, so maybe I'm a little bit biased here. But to me, Dylan Sampson could very easily be the Kareem Hunt to, Quinshon Judkins being the Nick Chubb. That's how this backfield could run. I think Sampson and Judkins kind of complement each other pretty well in that sense. Is he going to just have the backfield? Either one of those guys? Probably not. Plus, we have Jerome Ford to worry about as well, who, played well last year at the very, very least. But Dylan Sampson, to me, there's a chance that he's just better than Quinshon Judkins. And I know that's going to be crazy for people, but I don't rule it out. Do I lean towards Judkins as a better player? Yes. But is there a chance that Dylan Sampson's just better? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think even without Judkins, like even if he's not better than Judkins, he's still going to get on the field. And again, go look at what Kareem Hunt was doing those couple of years. I think it was 2020 and 2021, even with a prime Nick Chubb, with an absolute prime Nick Chubb. You go look at his snap share. Nick Chubb was barely getting over, if he was, 50% of the snaps. And Kareem Hunt was playing a lot. I could see the same thing with Judkins and Dylan Sampson. I've been getting Dylan Sampson pretty damn late in rookie drafts. And again, like I think he's going to be productive from year one. And really, when it comes to these day 3 picks, that's all I really care about. I don't care about what they're going to look like in 2-3 years because it's just going to be so hard to hold on to these guys. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to join our Discord. It's free. Link is in the description. We are putting together listener leagues. There's lots of trade questions that happen there. All that good stuff. Hop in the Discord. Next up, we got Jaden Blue out of Texas, going to the Dallas Cowboys. I think this one's pretty obvious. It was the first running back that they drafted. I mean, Cowboys were like a prime target in round 1, 2, 3, 4 to draft a running back. They didn't draft anyone until Jaden Blue in round 5. They did also draft Mafe, I believe, Phil Mafe in the 7th round. You can probably add him to this list as well. But Jaden Blue, to me, and I said this as soon as he was drafted, I see him as Tony Pollard for this offense. I see Javonte Williams as more of that grinder, early downs. He's probably going to get the bulk of the carries. I see Jaden Blue as Tony Pollard. Now, when I say Tony Pollard, I mean like 2021, 2022 Tony Pollard with Ezekiel Elliott as like the guy getting the majority of the carries. 2021, Tony Pollard averaged 8.7 carries per game, 2.6 receptions per game. So essentially he averaged 11 touches a game with about 2.5 of those as receptions. He had 1,000 total yards with 40 catches, only 2 touchdowns. Productive for fantasy, not great. 2022 was his big year. He got bumped up about 3.5 carries per game. About 3.5 carries more per game. So he had 12.1 carries per game, 2.4 catches a game, good for over 1,350 total yards, 12 touchdowns, 39 catches. I see somewhere between 2021 and 2022 for potentially Jaden Blue, like a 10 carry, 2.5 catches a game type of player. And if he's efficient with it, he can absolutely be productive and fantasy relevant. And there is a chance that there's more, that he's just more, right? I don't think he's going to be their every down workhorse guy. I'd be a little bit surprised if that came true, but it's not out of the realm of possibility with Jaden Blue, because we're talking about, can he beat out Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders? So sure, he can, but I think to me he's Tony Pollard. So make sure you're getting Jaden Blue. I do see him going as early as the 2nd round. Ollie Gordon's another one here where they don't have a solidified, clear-cut number 2 guy, in my opinion, behind HN, right? You have Alexander Madison, Jalen Wright, whoever else is still there. I don't think they want to run HN, the Dolphins, that is, 20 carries a game. Like HN was getting 20-plus touches, a game last year. Like you look at some of his game logs, especially later in the year for HN, 17 carries and 14 catches, right? 14 carries, 6 catches. Like he was getting 20-plus touches consistently towards the end of the year there. I think they want to keep HN closer to that 12 to 15 range. They just didn't really have someone that they wanted to use. Maybe Mostert was just a little bit older. Could it be Ollie Gordon? He doesn't really seem to fit the Dolphins in terms of the speed aspect of it. And I don't, again, Ollie Gordon, he's a 6th round pick. The odds of him hitting very, very low. That being said, I think the Dolphins are one of the better spots he could have landed on, because he just provides something different than really anyone else on that team, which is that big bruising power type of back. And maybe the Dolphins want to have that type of running back with him. Devin Neal is another player going to the Saints. What's behind Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints right now? And Devin Neal is a good player. I was definitely lower on him than other people. I thought he was going to be a day 3 pick. Sometimes he was mocked in the 3rd round and stuff. I thought that was a little bit of a stretch. But like, what's behind Alvin Kamara on this team? Kendre Miller, No, thank you. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, no, thank you. It could very easily be Devin Neal, and they're not going to run Kamara 300, 350 touches this year. It's going to be Kamara's most efficient with like probably giving him 215 touches in the year with a bunch of catches. So someone's going to run the ball between the tackles a little bit more. It could be Devin Neal. By the way, I don't rule it out that they can trade Alvin Kamara and just kind of blow this whole thing up, the Saints as well. So Devin Neal is absolutely someone that I'm putting on my team because I think he can easily produce year one. And I'm not the type of guy to say, sorry, you're drafted round 6, you can't produce. If you have opportunity and skill, you can produce. You can absolutely produce. Brashard Smith, round 7 pick to the Chiefs. Brashard Smith to me could be Jerick McKinnon. He could be the Jerick McKinnon, and I really do think now he's gonna have to pass block a lot better. He is gonna, but he could be that Naheem Hines, Jerick McKinnon type of player. Go look at some of their years. Naheem Hines had a big catch year. Jerick McKinnon in 2023, I believe it was. Maybe it's 2022. I can't remember now off the top of my head. He had like 800 total yards with 50 catches and like 10 touchdowns or something. I think the Chiefs have really, really missed that outlet running back out of the backfield that Mahomes could dump off to, and that guy that could an explosive player that can create. I don't think Pacheco's that type of player. I think Pacheco's fine for what he did, for what he is. I think they tried to make Samaje Perine that type of player, and he did okay, but not great. Brashard Smith to me could be that type of player. Right? He could be that type of player for the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, he's going to have to learn how to pass block. But if he could do it, man, just like watch out for him. Like watch out for him because he could be very productive, converted wide receiver to running back year one. Kyle Monangai to the Bears. Simply, the Bears were another one of those teams. We thought first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, they're going to take a running back. Wasn't until round 7. Now, do they bring in a Nick Chubb? Do they bring in a J.K. Dobbins? Potentially. But, I don't think they're going into the year saying, all right, well, DeAndre Swift's our guy. DeAndre Swift, we're going to give this guy 300 plus touches. I think they want DeAndre Swift as well as like a 250, 220 touch type of guy, right? I think that's kind of where they want him. And I think that's probably where DeAndre Swift is most effective. 12 to 15 touches a game, right? And so who's going to take those other carries? Roschon Johnson's there. Kyle Monangai's there. Like he easily could beat out Roschon Johnson to be the RB2 where we stand right now on May 11th. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, kind of repeat everything I just said with Devin Neal, with Jaden Blue, with Kyle Monangai. I mean, Devin Neal as well. And now the Commanders. So the Commanders were another team that we thought sneaky could be first round pick running back, second round pick running back. They didn't take anyone until they drafted Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in round 7. I kind of like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I think he has some skills. I think he fell down the draft board because he just didn't play last year due to eligibility issues. But he was the offensive MVP in the East-West Shrine game. And again, there's an opening here. There's an opening here to be the RB2. Brian Robinson's there. I don't think Brian Robinson's this spectacular running back. Austin Eckler has his role. Could Krosky-Merritt beat out Chris Rodriguez? He could. And could he earn more carries, more touches than Chris Rodriguez did last year? He could. So just be on the lookout for a guy like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Into some wide receivers. Only have 4 for you. Chimere Dike, I believe I'm saying that right, was drafted by the Titans in round 4, very early in round 4, by the way. Chimere Dike. He was the first wide receiver of round 4. And again, we're looking at a situation here. And this is what I dislike about the Dynasty community sometimes is we have our guys. And a lot of times our guys, a big reason why they are our guys is because they get mock draft early on, right? In January and February, Alec Iomanner is a top 40 pick, a top 50 pick, right? Oh, these guys are mock draft. They must be good. And then the draft plays out and it's like, oh, crap. A guy like DK or a guy like, the next guy I'm going to talk about went over guys like, Alec Iomanner. So then, well, they must be wrong, right? The team must be wrong. I still like Alec Iomanner. And sure, this is nothing against Elikayo Manor. The point of all of this is that we can have our player takes, but we're going to be wrong a lot. Whether you're a professional scout or not, you're going to be wrong about players a lot. And so when it comes to these day 3 guys, I don't just rule them out because, well, DK was never really mock draft in the first 4 rounds of most NFL mock drafts that I saw, or the most 3 rounds of NFL mock draft. I'm not ruling him out for that reason. I'm looking at him and saying he's on the Titans, right? He's on the Titans. There's a clear spot for someone to produce for the Tennessee Titans. That's why they took 3 pass catchers in the 4th round. We all thought they were going to take someone in the 2nd or 3rd round. They didn't. So you start looking at their depth chart. You have Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, Treylon Burks, Van Jefferson, and then these rookies. Who are you extremely worried about besides Calvin Ridley? Are you worried about a 32-year-old Tyler Lockett, who's definitely been he's on the downside of his career and he could just be done? By the way, he'll be 33 pretty early on in the season. Are you worried about Treylon Burks, who's a former 1st-round pick? And by the way, it's not like the Titans have had this plethora of wide receivers that Treylon Burks has been behind. Basically, since A.J. Brown left, they've been looking for a wide receiver. And guess how many career catches Treylon Burks has during those 3 years? 53. Are you worried about Van Jefferson? I'm not. Chimere Dike. Could he produce? The opportunity for him is there. It's absolutely there. He's an interesting player. Obviously, the Titans liked him. They took him early 4th round. He's kind of a burner. He ran a 4.34. So he's that maybe he's a field stretcher, burner type of player, super athletic. Like, opportunity is there for him. Absolutely is there for him. Just like it is for the next guy in Arian Smith. Kind of the same thing I said for DK, you can kind of repeat for Arian Smith. Now, I think the Jets have a little bit more depth at the at their pass catching position. They have a better wide receiver in Garrett Wilson and more of a target hog than Calvin Ridley. And then they still have guys like Alan Lazard, Josh Reynolds, guys that we've heard of, Alan Lazard, Josh Reynolds, like guys that are professional wide receivers. They had drafted Mason Taylor in the 2nd round as well. That being said, there's room here for Arian Smith. Why is no one talking about him? Why are people targeting, Xavier Restrepo, who's undrafted, over Arian Smith? It's basically because Arian Smith was never put into mock drafts. That's about it. Now, if you did your research and you say, hey, I don't think Arian Smith's a good player, sure, fine, whatever. But he's fast. He runs a 4.36. He can play the outside X spot. I kind of think of this. If we're thinking of the Jets as like they're going to bring over the Lions offense, well, you have your Amon-Ra and Garrett Wilson, the guy who's just like the target hog, clear-cut number 1 guy. Who's the Jameson Williams role on this team? It's not Alan Lazard and it's not Josh Reynolds. To me, if it's anyone, it's Arian Smith. So just a thought here. He goes to the Jets in the 4th round. There's opportunity. By the way, there's rumors that potentially if Aaron Rodgers does go to the Steelers, that they trade Lazard to the Steelers, and that just makes Arian Smith even more appealing. Elikayo Manor's up next. Everything I said for Chimere Dike applies to Elikayo Manor. If I had to choose between the two, I would choose Io Manor because I think he's a little bit more of a well-rounded receiver, whereas I think DK is a guy that provides that speed X type of player, but those guys are really hard to rely on for fantasy. They're great for an NFL offense, hard to rely on for fantasy. So if I had to choose between the two, I would choose Io Manor just because I think he could turn more into a complete wide receiver. Torrey Horton for the Seattle Seahawks is the last wide receiver here. And it just comes down to, like, you look at the Seahawks and they have a lot of guys that can play in the slot and those slot type of roles. JSN, Cooper Kupp, Noah Fant, guys like these, right? These guys are the over the middle type of guys. On the outside, you have MVS, but then Torrey Horton could play kind of that outside X kind of role for them. He could be like a Josh Reynolds type of player, in my opinion. And I like his game. I think he has a lot of nuance in his game. I think he's a hard worker. Maybe he doesn't have like all the athletic, standout stuff, which is why he fell to the 5th round, but he kind of does everything else well. And that could get him on the field. on a team that kind of needs some production from wide receiver outside their top two guys and guy that he can win on the outside. And I think Horton can. Into some tight ends to finish up here. Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm's a very interesting player because almost all of my drafts, Gunnar Helm's either going undrafted or in the 4th round. And I look at his situation, and you look at his situation, and there's not many, and I'm including all, obviously guys like Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, they're going to go ahead of Gunnar Helm. They should go again ahead of Gunnar Helm. But you can make an argument that Gunnar Helm, in terms of just situation, has a better situation right now than Colston Loveland. I'm not saying he's a better player. I'm not saying Gunnar Helm should go over Colston Loveland. That's not, don't hear what I'm not saying. All I'm saying is about the situation. I think it's better than Loveland. Could you make the argument it's better than Warren's situation? Warren's situation with Anthony Richardson as his quarterback, you still have guys like Josh Downs there, Alec Pierce is there, Michael Pittman's there. Is it better than, it's not better than Mason Taylor's. Is it better than Terrence Ferguson, who's probably going to be behind Tyler Higbee year one, or at least in the beginning? Is it better than Elijah Arroyo, who's probably going to be behind Noah Fant unless they move on from him? Is it better than Harold Fannin Jr.'s, who's behind Njoku? Gunnar Helm is looking at a situation where he's on a team that desperately needs pass catchers. They just drafted a number 1 overall pick at the quarterback position. Their number 1 receiver, by the way, is Calvin Ridley, who's not this huge target hog type of receiver. That's just not the type of player he is. He's not a big target hog type of player. He's just not. That's not the type of player he is. He's had 136 and 120 targets over his last two seasons. That's not target hog type of stuff. You're literally looking at a guy. Could Gunnar Helm be the number 2 option? I think he's a better complete tight end over Chigakonkwo. That's why I'm kind of ignoring Chigakonkwo in that sense. Like, I don't think that this current coaching staff really likes Chigakonkwo. And so I think Gunnar Helm is just better overall tight end than him. I think he is. Mitchell Evans for the Panthers. Another player where he's kind of a complete tight end on a team that doesn't really have a complete all-around tight end. I know we like Jatavion Sanders, but I don't think Jatavion Sanders is an all-around complete tight end. I see Mitchell Evans, the 6'5", 260, can kind of do it all for a team that doesn't have a clear-cut spot in the Panthers at the tight end spot, like a clear-cut guy at the tight end spot. So he's another one that I kind of throw in there, kind of like with Gunnar Helm. On a team that desperately needs offensive production. And then Oronde Gadsden II, I'm less confident in him because he's a tweener. Doesn't feel like a Harbaugh guy. Like, is he a wide receiver? Is he a tight end? Like, they're going to want their tight ends to block. So I don't really think this is going to work out, but he is an incredibly good pass catcher. Go look at his stats in college. The 2 years he was healthy, he put up over 900 yards. So, they have Tyler Conklin there, Will Dissly, like, good, not great tight end. So just keep an eye out for Gadsden. He seems to get drafted in a lot of rookie drafts. So that's all I have for you guys. Appreciate you all. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I'll catch you guys all in the next video.